Humanity, an in-depth look at humanity in Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition. Before we begin, I would like to reiterate that these videos are my own thoughts, and I homebrew a lot of things to fit my gaming group. If something strays from the book a little and there is some confusion, this is why. I am a huge fan of the 5th edition system, but I still like to read into everything a bit more deeply and get as much out of it that I can. If there are any major changes that I make, I will note it so as not to confuse new storytellers. What is humanity? Humanity is a measure of how close a vampire is to their human life and human concerns. As vampires age, they lose humanity and become more monstrous or alien compared to the average human. Regular people do not have this measure to gauge where we are because we are the bar. When looking at the humanity ratings, it is easy to say, no human is at this rating, or at this rating this would be fine, why is it not here? The ratings on pages 236, 239 do not represent people, they represent ideals of perfect people at that rating. The ratings range from 10 to 1 and complete loss of humanity at 0. 10 would be as perfect as you could get, and 1 would be as close to complete monster that you can get. But at this point, the vampire is barely holding on to any shred of what they once were. Vampires must try harder to hold on to those humanity ratings by going above and beyond. If a vampire just behaved normally, they would lose humanity until they got to a rating that their behavior would be acceptable. In exchange for that, they would have the penalties for that rating, and it could make their unlife much harder than it began. Having discussions such as, I think I have humanity 7 and doing this and that shouldn't affect that. Well, you might have a lot of similarities with humanity 7, but you are not a vampire, so you are able to do things from a much lower rating and not affect you, but if you were a vampire, it would. That is the constant struggle that the kindred face. Humanity rating penalties. Each level of humanity has penalties that characters face at each level as they watch their characters slide toward the beast. Humanity 10. Blush of life is not necessary because you appear as a pale mortal in good health. Now, you heal superficial damage as a mortal, in addition to vampiric mending. You can taste, eat, and digest food as if human. You can stay awake during the day as if human, though you do not lose your normal need for sleep. The rate of sunlight damage you take is halved. Humanity 9. Blush of life is not necessary because you appear ill, but not dead. You heal superficial damage as a mortal, in addition to vampiric mending. You can taste, eat, and digest rare or raw meat and many liquids. You can rise from day sleep up to an hour before sunset if you wish, and likewise stay awake an hour after dawn. Humanity 8. You can roll 2 dice for the Rouse check to use Blush of Life and take the highest result. Blush of Life allows you to have sexual intercourse and perhaps even enjoy it. Blush of Life allows you to digest and taste wine. You can rise from day sleep up to an hour before sunset if you wish. Humanity 7. You must make a Rouse check to use Blush of Life. You cannot have sexual intercourse per se, but you can fake it by winning a Dexterity plus Charisma test if you wish. Difficulty equals your partner's composure or wits. Unless using Blush of Life, food and drink makes you vomit. Make a Composure plus Stamina test, difficulty 3, to be able to get outside or to a bathroom first. Humanity 6. You cannot have sexual intercourse per se, but you can fake it by winning a Dexterity plus Charisma test if you wish, made at a 1-die penalty to your pool. Difficulty equals your partner's composure or wits. Even when using Blush of Life, you need make a Composure plus Stamina test, difficulty 3, to be able to keep food and drink down for an hour. Humanity 5. You suffer a 1-die penalty on rolls to interact with humans. This penalty applies to most social dice pools, including tests for interacting with touchstones, especially Insight and Persuade, but not to terrifying intimidation, inhuman subterfuge, seduction, or to any test to hunt or kill a human. This penalty also applies to creating art or other humanities. For example, kindred prose markedly worsens and becomes more florid as they degenerate. Even with Blush of Life, you cannot have sexual intercourse per se, but you can fake it by winning a Dexterity plus Charisma test if you wish, made at a 2-die penalty to your pool. Difficulty equals your partner's composure or wits. Humanity 4. You suffer a 2-dice penalty on rolls to interact with humans. You can no longer keep food and drink down, even with Blush of Life. Humanity 3. You suffer a 4-dice penalty on rolls to interact with humans, as above. You can no longer perform or even fake sexual intercourse, even with Blush of Life. Humanity 2. You suffer a 6-dice penalty on rolls to interact with humans, as above. The penalty becomes 4 dice with Blush of Life. Humanity 1. You suffer an 8-dice penalty on rolls to interact with humans, as above. The penalty becomes 5 dice with Blush of Life, but who cares? Not you. As you can see, as your character loses humanity, they struggle to remain among the humans. Mechanic-wise, how does a vampire lose humanity? A vampire gains stains on their humanity tracer by doing things with a major story significance, such as embracing a new child, damage to a touchstone, breaking a tenant or conviction, and the more usual corruptions and deformations of the character's humanity are some examples of what can cause stains on their humanity track. At the end of a session, a player makes a remorse roll by rolling a number of dice equal to the unmarked, unfilled boxes to a minimum of 1 die. The difficulty is 1, and if successful, they feel remorse and all stains are removed, and if failed, the character's humanity drops by 1. How does a vampire gain stains? An easy explanation for this is when the character does things that are below his humanity rating, more usual corruptions and deformations of the character's humanity. In each description of the humanity ratings, it gives a vague description on how a vampire at that rating behaves. It is the storyteller's job to take a character's actions and deem if it falls under the character's current rating and whether or not it is appropriate to give the character a stain, and how many. If a character has a 10 humanity and plans and follows through with a murder of a reporter to protect the masquerade, I would assign 1 stain for planning the murder. The merest selfish deed or thought is enough to topple this state of grace. 2 stains for committing the murder, because killing is so much lower than what a 10 humanity believes in. And there could be another point depending on if this deed broke any conviction or a chronicle tenant, and it deemed worth handing out a stain for. Of course, there are listed stains on page 240 that are gained dealing with touchstones being damaged and or destroyed, blood bonding a mortal and embracing a mortal. Then the breaking of a conviction can lead to a stain being given. Generally, I will only do this if the player utilizes his convictions well. If the player whose character was the level 10 humanity-rated vampire in the above scenario said, but 1, his convictions is protect the masquerade above all else, I would have lowered the stains given to 1. But if the same character would break the masquerade, I would give them a stain. A messy critical can give stains, and I even do so for bestial failures if it seems appropriate. The final way to possibly gain a stain is by violating a chronicle tenant. Depending on the severity of the violation, the storyteller can give a stain. A clear but justifiable or less than appalling violation may only incur 1 stain. A truly bestial act, on the other hand, may incur 2 or even more stains. So, a chronicle tenant. I will not harm the innocent, and a character accidentally shoots and kills an innocent is different than intentionally killing them, even in a frenzy. Degeneration. The vampire that gains enough stains that they have no free boxes in their tracker go into degeneration. They lose 2 dice to all pools as they are overcome with regret. The character also takes aggravated willpower damage equal to the number of points over the humanity tracker's empty boxes. Any further intentional or forced tenant violations and the character must make a terror frenzy test at Diff 4. I changed this rule to any intentional or forced actions that would cause a stain will cause the character to make the terror frenzy test. This effect is removed when the remorse test is rolled at the end of the session. Remorse. Understanding the remorse roll is important for both storyteller and player. Being successful on the roll means that the character feels remorse for the actions that were done. They cry. They must talk about it with someone because the character is remorseful. Success on the roll saves your humanity rating because there is enough humanity within you to hold on to it. When the roll fails, the character loses a point of humanity and does not feel any remorse. Any role-playing of remorse is fake because they literally feel nothing about the deeds that were done. What happens when a vampire loses humanity? The first thing that happens is that the vampire's humanity rating drops by 1 and they gain the penalties of the newly attained rating. When resisting frenzies and waking during the day, it becomes harder, as the rolls involves your humanity rating. The time the character spends in torpor increases by the chart on page 241. Losing your humanity is a lot easier than gaining it. The rules state vampires can only increase humanity by selflessly involving themselves in human life and human concerns. Increasing humanity should be a major personal story arc, involving at least the gaining of a new touchstone and the deliberate turning away from kindred society and power. Some extraordinarily humane in-game actions, endowing and non-murderously protecting a museum or hospital, for example, might allow a player to buy humanity with experience points at a cost of 10 times the new humanity rating. This purchase remains at the storyteller's discretion, and some storytellers might not allow experience points to purchase humanity at all. Some of the arts and practices of Golconda may also allow the increase of humanity, but those remain for the storyteller to determine and reveal. My homebrew, first. Let me explain why I made the changes I made. Working on human relations selflessly and wrapping yourself up in human concerns is a fine start, but the issue I have with this part is the fact that it seems to be anti-productive because of the character's coterie. If everyone is not on board with helping out, then it can be troublesome. The system then states an option of doing an extraordinary deed and paying for the humanity. So according to the rules, players get 1 experience per game. Going from rating 5 to 6 would cost 60 experience. We play twice a month, so that would take over 2.5 years of playing to gain enough experience to purchase the point, even if the character performed a miracle. Then it brings up Golconda, an almost mythical state of being for Kindred, unless the Chronicle started with this in play, not going to happen. My homebrew is the player that wants to increase his humanity has to pay 2 times the level that they would like to attain, such as in older versions of the game. They also have to involve themselves more with humanity. Similarly to original, but they have to aid a number of humans equal to the new rating that they wish to attain. So to go from humanity 5 to humanity 6, they would have to aid 6 people and pay 12 experience. By aid, I mean they have to go above and beyond to do something to help them, increase their happiness, stop a threat, etc. It isn't just handing over $1,000 or getting them a job if they are homeless. This would be getting a homeless person off the streets and helping them get a job and therapy, and helping them all the way to becoming a regular member of society. Stains from a storyteller's perspectives, everything is give and take as a storyteller. For me, if something stands out as bestial and doesn't fit into the character's humanity rating, they are getting a stain. Killing vampires I excuse from stains unless it is a special circumstance. Vampires are dead already, so the only time I would give a stain for killing a vampire is if the vampire is very human and kind, otherwise I can overlook it. If a player gets all slaughter-happy knowing that is my belief, then I might change my mind about it, but in my group, I do not see that happening. Making a call about convictions I have already spoke about. Giving a stain on violating a conviction just depends on if it's a casual violation or blatant disregard. If a player's conviction is never harm children, and then the character kills a person in self-defense and discovers that the person was a single parent and the child has been thrown into the system, I would not point. If that same character intentionally harms a child, then I would give them a stain. Violating Chronicle tenets. I do the same way as convictions, but I am a little more critical depending on coterie's involvement in the incident. If Do Not Harm Children is a chronicle, and one of the coterie members is going to intentionally harm a child around the coterie, someone should step in or at least make a dramatic moment out of the situation. If not, I would stain the main character as well as give 1 stain for the rest of the coterie for allowing it to happen. As a storyteller, it is up to you who gets stains and why. Don't let the players get all upset about gaining a stain. If a player rolls a bestial failure and you want to give them a stain instead of increasing their hunger, it is up to you. The remorse roll is not a horrible roll, and unless a character has just gone crazy, the odds are in the player's favor to retain their humanity. Don't let your players try to sway your decision against giving them a stain. Their convictions are their only arguments against the gaining of stains. I hope that you enjoyed this video and learned something new, or at least picked up something new to try in your own game.